Hello friends. I love telling stories. I wish to begin my presentation with one. In the Puttalam district in Sri Lanka lives a community that had been displaced from the north. And a few women from this community, one day, they began to organize themselves in order to achieve economic and social self-reliance. One day, as part of their awareness-raising process, they were watching a popular Tamil film in which the hero, a lawyer, makes teaching the law to the common people his life's mission. The hero argues in this film that if everyone knows the law, they know their entitlements, and hence they could assert their rights. So he goes to every slum, every tenement, teaching the law to the young and the old alike. The outcome in the film is that the citizens become empowered. Instead of being intimidated by the police, as before, they begin to question the legality of their actions. They challenge corruption on the part of the authorities, and they claim their dues from the government programs. Now, this film seemed to capture the imagination of our viewers. They decided that it is not enough that rights are enshrined in the law, but that people must also exercise them. So they earnestly began to discuss a critical problem faced by all of them. The problem was this. They, being from the north, were Tamil speaking and not proficient in the Sinhala language. But all administration matters in the district were carried out in Sinhala, causing enormous difficulties for them. When a letter arrives from the local divisional secretariat's office, they have to find someone to read and explain it to them. If they have to go somewhere, they have to get some Sinhala-speaking companion to accompany them in order to read the bus boards and the directions. When they went to the general hospital, they experienced instances where wrong medications were being prescribed because the doctor on duty could not understand what ailed them. The local Muslim community in this district, though Tamil speaking, was somewhat conversant in Sinhala. So this was not a problem to them as much. And so they decided, that they should do something about it. What about our language rights? They asked themselves and went ahead to form a larger network of women's organizations in order to address this issue. And so they named it Suryan Women's Network. Sensing their determination, Viluthu, my organization, sent to them a person who was knowledgeable on the workings of the National Language Commission and the laws governing it, to attend one of their meetings. He advised them, keep a paper trail, document every action of yours in pursuing justice. That is the only way you can build a strong case to fight at every legal forum. So armed with this advice, the women first went to their local bus depot and met with the manager. And the manager denied that the bus boards were monolingual. So the women took turns in documenting bus movements and the language of the signboards and went and presented this to the manager. Confronted with hard evidence, he accepted his oversight and he promised that every bus board from his depot would also carry Tamil signboards. The women commenced their discussions with the medical officer of health of the district. He promised to them that he will ensure at least a Tamil-speaking nurse to be at the side of a Sinhala-speaking doctor and vice versa during all consultations. They induced the local divisional secretariat to include translation facilities whenever they held public meetings for local organizations. Viluthu supported them to present their grievances to the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission established by the government of Sri Lanka which then brought the officials of the Ministry of Social Integration to attend a public meeting called by these women on the issue. Since then, the Syrian Women's Network has gone far, not only in addressing the language rights issue, but also the issue of violence against women, proliferation of prawn farms in the district, and the resultant environmental impact, and also the dwindling state healthcare system. In a way, groups such as Syrian Women's Network have brought to me the answers to the questions that have bugged me since my young days. How can the poor, the marginalized, the vulnerable people of this world achieve social, political, and economic power? How can people voice their views and participate in decisions that shape their lives? How can they be enabled to exercise choice, which alone brings dignity to their being? This was the social change that I was looking for, which could not be catalyzed by any assistance in the form of material benefits or services. I believe that any social change is initiated by the twin processes of dialogue and dissemination. Dissemination is provision of information, and dialogue involves sharing of information, ideas, stories, and experience. Dissemination brings with it new information, new knowledge, whereas dialogue validates local knowledge through facilitating a social learning process which is reflective, critical, and transitive. By gaining an understanding of oppression, the oppressed people acquire the power to change their own reality, which is, in my definition, social change. In order to facilitate this transformation process, all programs of Viluthu begin with setting up of study circles. Irrespective of whether we work with women, youth, children, we promote study circles everywhere. Study circles are small peer groups of not more than 12, which meet regularly to read or to watch a film and discuss how the issues portrayed in the film are relevant to their own lives. Viluthu supplies most of the reading materials too, which are basically arguments based on the worldview supporting the values of equality, democracy, and coexistence. A wide range of subjects are covered in these materials, such as what is good education? How does one prepare oneself as a social activist? Why should we participate in public meetings? How should we communicate to children? And what do we do when we discover our teenage son or daughter with a love letter? Now, these are the discursive subject matters we cover in the study circles. Then we also cover important laws of the country, the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution, important amendments, international legal instruments, and so on. Then there are also the explanatory ones. What is democracy? What are human rights? What are land rights? What are labor rights? And so on. Each reader has a set of questions at the end to facilitate dialogue and assist in arriving at decisions regarding local actions for change. We have the entertainment element too, such as radio plays, street theater, which play a big role in dissemination of information. However, dissemination and dialogue in themselves cannot be, or they are inadequate to propel social change. We need another ingredient, which is organizing and organization. A flock of geese flying in a V formation provide important lessons to us in organizing. The geese which fly behind utilize the air currents that come from the wings of the geese which fly in front to lift themselves up. The lead bird tires easily, but it routinely falls back to bring the birds flying at the back to sequentially move forwards. And they honk loudly while flying to encourage each other and also to inform others their relative positions. Organizing is a group of individuals coming together to engage in interdependent and cooperative actions to achieve a common purpose. The Putlam women immediately went and they formed a larger network of women's groups only because they realized the essential need for organized action. Pushparani is an able leader who is from a village called Tirumalpuram in Trincomalee district. She never lets go of any opportunity to better her community. Tirumalpuram is a resettlement village which has bare minimal infrastructure facility. Pushparani and her study circle friends were very surprised when they read for the first time about local authorities and the services they offered. They had never known of its existence before. So they went to their own local authority, which was the Kuchavalli Pradesha Sabha, and over a period of time, they negotiated and managed to obtain many relief and development assistance, including electrification for their village. They read on land rights, and they were overawed by the concept that land was a fundamental right. So they discussed about land ownership around their village, including the fact that a temple in Trincomalee district leased out cultivable lands that it owns in that area to outsiders. So this group went and met the trustees of this temple and managed to get 33 acres of cultivable land for their villagers for the next season. They read on labor rights and the importance of organizing. And so they promptly formed a farmers association and went to the Agrarian Services Center for registration. There they found out that there was a loan scheme that was operated by the Bank of Ceylon for members of farmer associations and also a fertilizer subsidy scheme by the Department of Agriculture. 11 farmers made use of this assistance. In Kaidadi Navapuram in Jaffna, a women's group read about caste discrimination. Following the reading, they discussed the various ways of discrimination and marginalization that they suffered at the hands of the superior caste community living in the same village. They decided to stand their ground in the future. The opportunity to do so was presented to them in the form of the annual sports meet organized by the local school. Of the many chores allocated to the students, one was serving of refreshments. In the past, the school management did not allow children of depressed caste community to mix drinks or share plates and glasses from their homes to serve the food. This time, the community got together and they resolutely informed everyone that unless this rule was changed, they will not allow their children to participate in the sports meet. So the school management, considering the fact that half the events cannot be held if this non-cooperation was extended, they had to concede to the demands of this community. So, okay, people have the information, they have dialogued, they have reflected on the processes, and they are organized for action. Still, I say that they are not ready to create meaningful, effective change. They need yet another ingredient, that is a political platform for action. Only those decisions taken at the political levels create an enabling environment and create sustained changes in people's lives. Unless an organized group of individuals act to change political processes and political actors, they can never be effective. So Viluthu always makes it a point to link groups and networks to their local and provincial governments. We encourage the people to dialogue with their political parties and be aware of their power as voters. We have a voter education video film, which is titled Speak Through Your Vote, which is essentially an argument that we as civilians could transform entirely the political culture of this country with just our vote, provided we use it strategically. Working for social change is so much fun. We are constantly challenged by the dialectic between oppression and empowerment present in the same situation. The proverbial mother-in-law is oppressive when she interacts with her daughter-in-law, but is herself oppressed as a woman within a patriarchal household. She does not hesitate to exercise her prerogative over her daughter-in-law just because she is oppressed in other circumstances. In fact, she will fight her oppression but prevent her daughter-in-law's emancipation. Thus, the process of social change is seldom linear or unidirectional. Each day brings with it a new perspective to the age-old problem. But imagine how exciting it will be. With hundreds, thousands of people, you work, and each person brings a new perspective to that problem. And also, social change is a process that one can engage with at every juncture of one's life. When I was in university studying architecture, we were given a project to design a kitchen. Now, the image of designing, that is, making a functional space aesthetically pleasing, is always associated with plush surroundings, nice, beautiful, and, very high class. On my part, I decided to design a kitchen for a slum dweller. My philosophy was that as professionals, we were duty-bound to serve the poor too, as they had the right to dignity as any other. So I visited the slums in Vellavatha Canal. I observed their cooking spaces and came up with a design for a slum kitchen. What a novel sight it was when we presented our designs amongst all the other pantry cupboards, stainless steel sinks, and electric oven designs. This was totally out of the blues. So what is the lesson here? We change the world not by what we do or say, but as a consequence of what we have become. We are the change we seek. Thank you.